You know, I want to play, Becky, this clip. Deanna Knox, the sister of Amanda Knox, just moments ago speaking on behalf of the family.
Hello.
Oh, it's not working.
I don't know. Should I just talk?
I don't think anything's working.
I don't think it's supposed to project.
Is it supposed to project?
No, you want to say something?
Yeah, she's going to she's got a statement.
I think funziona, no? Può fare una dichiarazione?
Hello.
Prego. Prego.
Great.
Grazie.
I'm Deanna Knox, Amanda Knox's sister, and I just have a few words on behalf of our family. We're thankful that Amanda's nightmare is over. She has suffered for 4 years for a crime that she did not commit. We are thankful for our lawyers, Carlo De La Vedova, Luciano Girga, and Maria Del Grosso, and their assistants. Not only did they defend her brilliantly, but they also loved her. We are thankful for the support we have received from all over the world. People who took the time to research the case and could see that Amanda and Raffaele were innocent. And last, we are thankful to the court for having the courage to look for the truth and to overturn this conviction. We now respectfully ask you to give Amanda and the rest of our family our privacy that we need to recover from this horrible ordeal. Thank you.
So there she is, the sister of Amanda Knox, Deanna Knox, speaking on behalf of the family. Becky Anderson is still watching all of this unfold. Becky, I guess a lot of viewers in the United States and around the world are going to ask what happened in between the time of the original conviction for murder until now. There were a lot of new pieces of information that came out, but the most damning, I guess, was the fact that the DNA evidence apparently that resulted in the original conviction against her and Raffaele Sollecito, that original DNA evidence was tainted.
Yeah, and of course that was what the appeal was really based on. That was the key DNA evidence. It was DNA on the knife that the prosecutors said was used to commit the murder, and DNA samples on a bra strap. And when the independent investigators came back in June and said that it shouldn't be admissible in court, it was contaminated, it was questionable evidence, it was then that people really began to believe that Amanda Knox actually might be acquitted of what was a brutal murder and a brutal sexual assault. Let's remember, she has been acquitted on all charges bar that of defamation. She was sentenced to 3 years for that, but has also already they've already served 4 years. I think we've got a protest going on. I'm not sure if we've got the picture up for you. If we haven't, I can describe, I think, what is going on. There's a police car just leaving to my right-hand side. Let's get the camera over here. It's very difficult to know at this stage who is involved in which sort of transport. We are waiting for Amanda Knox to be returned to prison. We're expecting that she'll be returned to prison in the police van that she's left
in. All right, it looks like we lost that picture, but we're going to reconnect with Becky in a moment. Matthew Chance is on the scene for us as well. Jeffrey Toobin is back. Becky, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, Wolf, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this protest.
Yeah, and what you're
these
looking
people
at
who are
is just,
upset about the conviction being overturned?
Yeah, there are people who are protesting the decision here. We heard some cheers of victory. We've also heard cheers of shame. I think the shot that you're sitting on now is a shot of Amanda Knox's lawyer, who we spoke to just moments ago. He's obviously absolutely delighted. She had a big team of lawyers. He was one of the leading lawyers, and he says that that she is, as we know now, free to leave Italy after she picks up her stuff from prison. He doesn't know, Wolf, whether there is a ticket booked for her, but one can only assume that the family, the Knox family, has been putting preparations in place, hoping that they get the result that they were hoping for today. And we heard Dean Knox, of course, talking earlier on. Wolf?
And so basically both of these young people, Amanda Knox, Raffaele Sollecito, they will both be allowed to to go. I assume he's going to stay in Italy. He's Italian, the former boyfriend who was also convicted of murder. He'll stay in Italy. She'll come back to the United States, presumably go to her hometown of Seattle as quickly as possible. She wants to get out of there as quickly as possible. Yeah. In Italy, was it, here in the United States, as you probably know, Becky, it was widely assumed that she was not guilty of this, even though the Italian court system convicted her early on. But what was the sense in Italy over these past 4 years? Did most people believe that justice had been served when they convicted, when they originally convicted her and Raffaele?
Yeah. Not only did they think that justice had been served, but as this appeal has been sort of building, there's been much sense that if this was seen as a miscarriage of justice, then that would be sort of a, you know, the Italian justice system besmirched, as it were. I want to bring in somebody who's joining me now, who may be able to shed some more light on the proceedings today. Candace Dempsey, if you'll just look at me, has written a book about the murder of Meredith Kercher. You've always believed that Amanda Knox was innocent, haven't you?
I've always believed that the Italians would do the correct thing. I haven't always known that she was innocent, obviously, because I had to do research, but I have always said that if they knocked out the DNA, that she would go free, and that's what we saw tonight.
Yeah.
So,
Wolf asking me about whether there's been a sort of polarization in people's views here as to whether she was innocent or not. Certainly stateside, there's been a sense that she's been innocent from the start. But I certainly have felt here that there's been a sort of differing opinion. Certainly people didn't want to see the Italian justice system sort of smeared by this.
I think it's a great day for Italian justice. As an Italian American, I'm very proud because I've always said that we believe in science and that we shout, we act crazy, but in the end we do the right thing. And it's a beautiful thing to see justice done. We don't see that often in the world. And there'll be jubilation and celebrations in Seattle tonight. I do feel very bad for the victim's family. I just saw them leaving, and they're always, every time I see them leave footage, they're leaving without their daughter. So there is the sorrow at the end. But it's a good night for the family of Amanda Knox and Raffaele Sollecito, no question.
Candace, thank you for that. Of course, it's a very good night for the defendants this evening. But as Candace said, lest we forget that there is a victim in all of this, of course, and that's being Meredith Kercher. So what we've been hearing is some protests here outside the court. Barbie is the Newsweek correspondent who has been covering this these proceedings over the last 4 years. You heard some yells and some screams as the decision tonight was handed down. Your response?
Well, I was surprised actually at the protest. I think everybody very much assumed that Amanda Knox would go home tonight, whether she was completely absolved of the crimes or not. But the protests tonight are surprising to me because these are Italians who are protesting their own judiciary. They're saying, shame, shame, you know, remember Meredith, don't forget the victim. This was obviously planned in advance in anticipation of an acquittal tonight.
Were you surprised by the verdict?
No, I think we all assumed that this is how it was going to go because there was an independent review of key forensic evidence. It just didn't happen the first time around. In the first trial, the defense asked for the same thing and didn't get it. This time they did, and it was a game changer.
Yeah, I just want our viewers to really understand what these protests were about. I mean, there's a lot of people still milling around. We're not hearing the same sort of volume of protests that we heard just earlier. But you said you were surprised by them.
I was surprised because I think really I had thought that the mood had changed here in Italy, that a lot of people had come to realize that maybe Amanda Knox and Raffaele Sollecito's conviction was not clean. And as a result, I was surprised that people were protesting it. And I think it comes down to actually the fact that Meredith Kercher was a European, and maybe it comes down to something like that, because they're in the protests, they're talking about Meredith. Don't forget the victim. This is not about the suspect. And we'll see how this goes. It could just be the university students here who feel very attached to Meredith Kercher. This is a university town and school's in session. It could very much be part of that.
It's a town that's had enough of this, isn't it? This town wants to move on. This is a medieval city. It's 14th century. And since 2007, the sort of headlines that they've seen about Perugia have been all about these proceedings and not about the culture and the sort of vitality of those and that which you find when you come to this city.
No, that's exactly right. And you're coming up on the Perugia's Chocolate Festival, which used to be the most famous thing that ever happened here in Perugia. And I'm sure that all of these trucks and media will be out of town so they can enjoy their chocolate without us here.
Yeah, absolutely. Barbie. Thank you very much indeed. So we have heard protests there, and as Barbie was suggesting, she was very surprised by what we've heard. It may be that emotions are just running high, and rightly so. People are wanting the world to remember there was a victim here, that being Meredith Kercher, who was brutally stabbed and murdered back in 2007. Rudy Guede, who was a drifter, picked up in Germany and brought back here, is serving 16 years in prison for that murder. So there is somebody behind bars tonight. It just won't be Sollecito, the former boyfriend of Amanda Knox, who is effectively free. Wolf?
Well, here's the question, and Becky, why can't folks in Italy believe that there was one murderer in this particular case, the man who was convicted of murder? There was a lot of DNA evidence that resulted in the conviction of Rudy Guede, and he's serving, as you point out, multiple years for this murder. So if we're remembering Meredith Kercher, why can't people in Italy simply believe that this young woman, 21 years old, was raped and murdered by this one individual who's now serving multiple years?
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person. I'm yet to ask these guys why they've been protesting, but as Barbie said, it may just be university students who are so proud of this city and what a beautiful city it is, and are so distraught that its reputation has been sort of drawn through the mud, as it were. And don't forget that way back when, in 2007, in November, nearly 4 years ago, just after the murder of Meredith Kercher, under duress, it seems now, in conversations with police, Amanda Knox did change her story a number of times. She implicated one man who was completely exonerated afterwards, a bar owner here by the name of Lumumba. So, there was a lot of distortions in this case, and a lot of distortions in what was said right from the outset. But what we've got to remember tonight is that on appeal, Amanda Knox is now free. The one thing we do have to remember is this is not the end of the line as far as the appeal process is concerned. For our viewers who aren't aware of the Italian justice system, both sides can appeal now to Italy's highest court. It doesn't mean that Amanda Knox can't leave Italy, but one assumes, we haven't heard from the prosecution yet, but one assumes that the prosecutors will appeal to Italy's highest court. There's a bilateral extradition treaty between the States and Italy, so she will be free to leave. Whether she will ever come back, if indeed that appeal is heard here in Italy, well, that remains to be seen. I can't get any legal mind here to confirm that she'll be made to come back. Wolf?
Yeah, we'll see what happens on that front. A, we got to see if the prosecutors in Italy decide to appeal, and B, if she's here in the United States, if the U.S. were to then go forward and actually extradite Amanda Knox back to Italy, which is problematic, obviously, to be sure. Becky, I want you to stand by. Don't go too far away. Matthew Chance is with you as well. If there are other lawyers, other eyewitnesses who want to join you, we want to stay on top of this story. A dramatic development right now, just to remind our viewers here in the United States and around the world, both Amanda Knox and Raffaele Sollecito, they both are now free. They'll be taken back to the prison briefly, but they will be released, and presumably within a matter of hours, Amanda Knox will be flying back to the United States. Our special coverage here in the Situation Room resumes right after this.